I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
The idea is to teach kids that there are gay kids and there are trans kids and there are trans parents and gay parents in our society, and everybody's wanted and desired. After all, that's what our human rights code says.
And the only thing that therapist did was affirm my beliefs that I was inherently supposed to be a boy because I didn't like being a girl. And the therapist only ever affirmed my ideas and talked about very surface level stereotypical ideas of gender with me.
The problem is not the teachers, the educators, the administrators. This is a battle in the heavenlies.
A family can be made up in many different ways.
It's called SOGI, for Sexual Orientation and Gender Identification, a curriculum that teaches public school students across Canada to celebrate the homosexual lifestyle and that gender is fluid. In other words, your gender is not dependent on what parts you were born with, but rather what you feel like in the moment. Lessons include books about transgender children, such as 10,000 Dresses, and songs like The Rainbow Song.
I just thought, who decided that this was okay to teach our children? And we are seeing the results of that now, because some kids are reacting very emotionally and saying, and they're in fear. Will I suddenly struggle with feeling like a different gender inside of my body?
All those beautiful qualities that make young girls, beautiful girls and women, are being basically vilified. The things that make our boys boys are being, taken from them. So things of equating young men to being strong protectors is something that's now evil.
The idea is to teach kids that there are gay kids and there are trans kids and there are trans parents and gay parents in our society, and everybody's wanted and desired. After all, that's what our human rights code says, and it's the role of schools to teach the following of our laws, right?
And it's a social deconstructionist agenda. They're using children, little 5-year-olds, to accomplish this, and parents are waking up and saying no.
Well, actually, in Canada, parents' rights are limited, and children's rights are put ahead. So the child has the right to be protected from the parents when the parents behave badly.
Canada is known as one of the most gay-friendly countries in the world, with many of their largest cities featuring their own gay villages, like here in Vancouver, which has literally rolled out the Rainbow Road.
The change that we have to see is sometimes the parents, and the kids are doing actually really okay.
This is very scary stuff.
Longtime Vancouver area pastor Kevin Kavanaugh says this is far more serious than most Canadian Christians realize.
Our problem is not the teachers, the educators, the administrators. This is a battle in the heavenlies.
He says Satan is going after their most vulnerable, the children.
And the little girl came home in tears because the teacher had told her, since she was playing with some toys in the class that were deemed to be masculine in nature, that she was likely a boy in a girl's body. The mother went to the school the very next day, and instead of having any sort of tolerance or support or understanding, she was actually called names. She was told that she was a homophobe, that she was a...
What is a woman?
What is a woman? I think that a woman is somebody who wants to express feminine traits in their looks, their thoughts.
Yeah, but what is feminine traits?
Long hair, taking care of children, using an immense amount of makeup or anything like that.
I mean, just to be clear, you are now reducing womanhood to a costume. Correct? So that if people go to Party City and get enough of the right makeup, they become a woman.
Okay. If you say so.
That's your position.
No, it's not. I didn't say that.
No, you said people that exhibit feminine traits of long hair and makeup, all of those things are costumes. Anybody can appropriate them. You just have to go, do the work, and you become a woman.
Maybe. So if that's what if that's our running definition of a woman, and
that's yours, yeah.
In a godless society, this dynamic is even more evident. People spiritually disconnected from the truth of God can become blinded by their emotions and worldly perspectives. The absence of a strong moral foundation rooted in faith leads to a hardening of the heart. And without guidance of God's wisdom, ladies and gentlemen, and understanding, individuals may become increasingly resistant to the truth, unable to see beyond their emotions and biases, and their hearts will grow hardened when it is not softened by the transformative power of God's love, God's word. You see? And this will lead to spiritual blindness. Literally. Ladies and gentlemen, in a society, individuals may become more consumed by their own feelings, whether anger, fear, or evil desires, rather than seeking clarity and wisdom that only logic and truth can provide.
The left pushed a twisted and dangerous gender ideology upon our kids for the last few years, and the voters resoundingly rejected it this November because of stories like this one. Clementine Breen is suing 2 California doctors after she says that she was fast-tracked into transgender surgery. She claims that Dr. Johanna Olson Kennedy, who runs the nation's largest transgender youth clinic at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, diagnosed her with gender dysphoria mere minutes into their first appointment and recommended that Clementine take puberty blockers at 12 years old. And that was only the start. She started cross-sex hormones at 13 and underwent a double mastectomy at 14 years old. Clementine Breen joins me now. Clementine, I do want to quickly pop up the statement from Children's Hospital LA. They say this, that the Center for Trans Youth Health and Development has provided high-quality, age-appropriate, medically necessary care for youth and young adults and their families for more than 30 years. That's what the statement reads in part. But I want to get to your story. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story. I actually have a breast cancer genetic mutation, and for 10 years, belabored over the decision of whether to have a double mastectomy. And I decided to make that decision at 30 years old. It was painful, it was hard, and it was very serious. But you at the age of 13 years old, when you can't buy a beer, you can't join the military, you can't drive a car, had a double mastectomy, did you feel equipped to make that decision at 13 years old?
Hi, thank you for having me, first of all. And yeah, at the time of my mastectomy, I had no idea really what I was doing. I mean, I remember going into the operating room and I had zero nerves at all because to me it wasn't serious. And I didn't really realize how serious it was until I woke up from the procedure.
Wow, Clementine, my heart goes out to you and your story, and you are so bold and courageous for bringing this story to light. What happened to you after? Did the testosterone you took at 12 years old, did it help you, or were you in a better place or worse off?
So for me personally, when I started taking testosterone, I sort of started feeling more anxiety than I had ever felt in my entire life. But it wasn't until after my surgery, when my dose of testosterone was upped, that I started experiencing psychosis and full audio and visual hallucinations, which were somewhat linked to the high dosage, which once I went off the dosage, all these symptoms stopped. But all of that was considered totally irrelevant, and I was encouraged to keep going on testosterone.
So as I understand, you communicated some challenges you had as a child to a therapist, and then your therapist spoke with your parents and referred you to this clinic. And you go to this clinic, and I'm wondering, at any point in this decision-making to make life-changing, permanent decisions, did anyone say, let's talk to a therapist first, let's really explore, your feelings and your thoughts? Was that ever suggested?
That was, and I did see a therapist, and the only thing that therapist did was affirm my beliefs that I was inherently supposed to be a boy because I didn't like being a girl. And the therapist only ever affirmed my ideas and talked about very surface level stereotypical ideas of gender with me.
Well, Clementine, you are bold, you are courageous. I read your story in the Wall Street Journal, I read your story in The Economist, And you're really making a difference. And Clementine, thank you for speaking out and for being here tonight and sharing this personal decision. You're a real hero for doing so. Thank you.
Moreover, far-left media outlets and the dominant liberal narrative often rely on emotionally charged rhetoric to appeal to the feelings rather than the logic of young people. How sad. It's like they're saying, throw away common sense and use your feelings. How sad. These platforms, they tend to exaggerate issues to capture attention, making it all about feelings without driving into the full context or providing, neutral arguments. They don't do that. Instead, they foster a deeper understanding that is all biased. It's all brainwashing. These outlets, they prioritize sound bites and quick judgments. That's all they do, making it easy for kids to form opinions that feel valid at the moment, but lack substance or depth. It's crazy, ladies and gentlemen. The world we now live in is crazy.
You got bright blue hair, you got white gloves, right? You got a lot of shrieking. This is the state of the resistance, because the trans resistance, they seem to be just losing their mind, if they have ever had much of a mind, about Trump wanting to protect girls and, of course, keep men out of women's bathrooms. So a Massachusetts town going so far as declaring itself, as I mentioned in the angle, a sanctuary city for transgender and gender diverse people. The city council voted in favor of the sanctuary status 9-2. Watch.
I don't want to spend an hour applying glitter on my face so that you will hear and see me.
I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
It demands a response from our elected officials to say, we recognize that you are under attack, and in Worcester, we are going to protect you.
Joining me now, Jim Polito, who's a conservative Boston area radio host. Jim, great to see you. I remember
Great
Worcester. One of my brothers went to Worcester Polytech. Now this was like a blue collar, a factory town.
Yes.
I know Worcester really well. How
Laura,
did this happen?
I grew up there. It happens
okay.
because the city has gone crazy, Laura. My pronouns on this one are, I can't go back there. I mean, this group last night put up such a fit. Actually, they were the most intolerant. They were threatening violence. And wait until you hear this. Wait until you hear this. 2 of the counselors who voted no, one happens to be Jewish. The tolerant crowd here who was looking for acceptance started yelling at him with a fake German accent. They called him a fascist, and they started making pig noises, oink, oink. This man who voted against this, his parents were Holocaust survivors who moved to Worcester in 1949. I mean, this is out of control, Laura. And you're right. I grew up in Worcester. I don't live there anymore. It used to be a blue-collar city. My brother went to WPI, too. It is no longer that. And Jim McGovern, I think you know, is the congressman from Worcester, and he's partly responsible for this transformation of what was a working-class, quiet city. And then we have this kind of craziness in front of the council.
Well, what I have to remind everyone watching tonight is that the Democrats for years claimed that Republicans were pushing the envelope on protests. January 6th, Charlottesville, that's all they ever said. And it was, oh, they're the violent ones. They're the threatening people. Well, who's threatening now? Yeah. Using pig noises to a Jewish American who has the right to vote any way he wants on an issue like this? That's not threatening?
Any other group that had come in front of the council and behaved the way that they did, with threats of violence, too, Laura, in some of the sound bites you'll see, they would have been tossed out. Let's say Jim Polito showed up and said, I want to make this a sanctuary city for white males who are practicing Catholics, conservative, and drive Harleys. I'd be thrown out. We wouldn't even be entertained. We would be thrown out.
I think we have more sound. Let's play
council.
one more sound bite. I don't know if we have the one that you're describing, which I wish. Yeah, but we do. Let's just play a little bit more from this.
I'm shaking right now. I don't want to be here. I'm sorry. Am I taking too long pleading for my life?
Please wrap up.
You know, there's.
I mean,
Laura, there's the other one with the purple hair.
It's a fake victim mentality.
Yeah.
It's so phony.
It is. The one with the purple hair said, if we don't feel safe here, you're not going to feel safe here. How is that tolerance? How are these the people who don't want hate? And can I just add one more thing, Laura, that's the cherry on top of this? Why do we need a sanctuary city in a state where the governor is a member of the LGBTQ community?
I think it's
the
pretty
governor
much a
herself.
sanctuary for the fringe, and that's apparently what the great state of Massachusetts wants. And time to take back New England, Jim. I've been saying that for a long time. I'm from Connecticut. My whole family was from Boston. Got to take it back. It's absurd what's happening. You shouldn't have to write those states off every presidential election. Jim, thank you very much.
America was truly better when we acknowledged and thanked our Creator, because religion not only provides spiritual guidance, but it also fosters the kind of moral values that create a thriving society. Yes, by embracing faith, we honor God, we honor our Creator, uplift others, and live with purpose. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to return to those core values and allow them to guide us in a world that increasingly needs moral clarity, compassion, and unity. Let us live out the teachings of Jesus, acknowledging God with gratitude and love. Let us do that, fostering a society that reflects these timeless principles. In summary, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ is an incredibly worthwhile mission. It brings about transformation, fosters love, justice, hope, truth, and fulfills God's command. It grants eternal significance, ladies and gentlemen, and deep joy to those who embrace it. Ultimately, it's the greatest gift we can offer. You see, bringing lasting change to individuals and communities alike, and reflecting God's love and purpose for the world. So, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to click on the next one, and don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.